Anyway, she realizes the mom is not coming back. She's shaking her. She's, mom, mom, mom. Anyway, she gets out. She calls everybody. That's when she calls me. So we get there. Everybody's waiting for an ambulance. The ambulance is coming. We rush her to the hospital with the car. We just move there on the side. We just drive to the hospital. When we get there, the doctor tells us, no, she's gone. She must have been gone probably about 10 minutes back. But that whole period maybe must have been about, I don't know, 30 minutes from the time she collapsed to the time that I get called to the time I get there. The ambulance called to us to get to hospital.
Yes.
I think all put together, it must have been around about 30 minutes.
Does you or your business need cybersecurity solutions? Well, look no further. RAM Cyber Solutions has got you. RAM Cyber Solutions is on the defense side of cybersecurity. They provide tools and solutions to protect any business against any ransomware and attacks. They also provide real-time alerts to clients in case of any suspected attacks. From mailing security, networks, privilege access, data loss, and backup. Get in contact with RAM Cyber Solutions using the contact details on the screen. Hi everyone, welcome to O Narrative Podcast by myself, Promise Magunyane. This podcast is about marriage and family dynamics. If you're new to our channel, you are welcome. Please continue to subscribe. And do not forget, if you'd like to be a guest on our podcast, write to us on the email address that is popping on the screen. Do not forget to put your number, preferably your WhatsApp number, so that we can contact you once we vet your story. So if you are not new here, you have watched the 2 previous episodes. I've said when I was starting that when I started the podcast, they were specific people that I wanted to sit with. That was the goal of this podcast. And one of them is like a side chick of a married man, baby mama, a widower. And today I'm actually sitting with one of my goals for this podcast, which is a widower. And his name is, actually, you will just introduce yourself. Let me not get into it. Anyway, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for saying yes. And as you have heard me introducing you, like talking about you being a widower, you've always been, not you, but somebody who lost a wife has always been someone I wanted to have a conversation with because I feel that there are a lot of women that are speaking that lost husbands, but there are less men who lost wives that can actually sit down and have a conversation. Thank you for saying yes.
Only a pleasure. And I did say when the invite initially came that
Yes.
I wasn't ready, So here we are, we are talking, and I can't say I'm fully ready, but I think better than at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to put it out there, this conversation or this meet was facilitated by my husband. So shout out to him. And we've really tried. I've told him, because obviously I know him through him. And he's told me, Nkosinathi lost his wife. He's staying with his children. And that was just an interesting topic. And I was like, okay, please speak to him for me. And he was like, say no more. 2 months later, it's literally 2 months later.
That's right. Yeah.
That I'm sitting with you.
Yeah. So, yes, the name is Nkosinathi.
Yeah.
Reward Ngobo. Love both my name. I always want to mention both of them because they have meaning behind it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 2019, my wife passed.
Okay.
By then we were married, I think was close to 17 years.
Okay. Before you jump into that,
Okay.
I want to know you, Nkosinathi, where you're from, how you grew up, your own family.
Okay.
And then we'll go into now your marriage, how you met your wife, and then how you lost her, how you're now a single father.
Sure.
So where did you grow up and your family structure and like just about you?
Sure. So born and bred in KZN, Devon, particularly the area called Gwamakuta.
Where?
Gwamakuta.
Not Kwamashu.
No.
Okay.
Another township.
Okay.
Those who are from KZN will know it very well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's near Manzimtoti, which will be maybe a very common area. So born and bred there at the age of 17, probably shifted from there. But prior getting to that, so a family of 8 altogether, mother and dad, mixture of Zulu and Xhosa. Dad being Zulu, mom being Xhosa,
Yeah.
but mom having lived in Durban for the longest of time with work, meeting dad. So by the time we were born, my mom was fluently Zulu speaking. So we were raised as Zulu speaking people, but very much connected to my mother's side as well.
Yeah.
We would spend a lot of time, holidays at home. So the dynamics of Xhosa and Zulu is very much intertwined in who I am,
Yeah.
you know. And four boys and two girls.
Okay.
Since now we three boys left and one girl, because the others have passed as well.
And your number?
I'm number 3 from the top.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
so
you must be old.
very old. Which I've been looking forward to. I just turned 51 the other day.
Oh my gosh.
I've been looking forward to being 50
Yeah.
since I was 29.
Why?
Okay, so for those who will understand the African culture a little bit better, you know that when you are in a community,
Yeah.
you have a voice when you are older in
I
general.
get that.
So outside of being older, when people think you are older and you are wiser,
Yeah.
they give you a space for you to share something, either community, family, or whatever the dynamics is, right?
Yeah.
So I think that has always been my aspiration.
Yeah.
To be able to contribute in a meaningful way in a family conversation that needed to move the family forward.
Yeah.
Because I always thought I had something, but
Yes.
sometimes you're kind of like, you'll be put
something.
away. Or in the community, mostly in the community.
Yeah.
I always just thought that there will be, some things is happening. You've got an idea, you've got a
Yeah.
thought, but
Yeah.
you will be shunned. So I've always wanted to be bigger. But fortunately, my voice broke quite early. And I've been blessed with, I would say, a little bit of wisdom in my life.
Okay.
So people started wanting to hear what I have to say quite earlier than 50. But now that I'm 50 and plus one, I think the plus one is the one that has circled me, to say, yeah.
So why do you say that people have always wanted to hear from you? There's a certain level of like wisdom that you have. Where does it come from? Is it spiritual?
I think it's spiritual. So at the age of 20, I got to really get involved in the church and getting to understand that part of my life a little bit more. So I think that's one thing I've always prayed for since I was 20.
Yeah.
If I pray, I always prayed for wisdom because I thought of the Solomon. Yes, in the Bible, when he wanted to solve issues, all he ever prayed for was wisdom, and then everything else, including wealth,
And
came
wives.
with it, and many wives.
Concubines.
But I don't think wives came with that. They just were attracted to his wisdom.
Yeah, maybe.
But then, of course, it came with it. But yeah, so I've always prayed for wisdom, and it just seems that maybe people that I hang with have reflected to me so much in the beginning that I've said, okay, I must have got what I've been praying for.
Yeah, I hear that. Did you study? What did you study?
So I've studied a few things.
Yeah.
At first, I did marketing because I'm very much interested in people and how people think. So consumer behavior was my favorite one, just in terms of how people behave and why they buy what they buy and why they dress the way they dress and all of that. So I started marketing. I worked a little bit in marketing. I resigned because I started going to church. I resigned work. I went and started theology, which is something very interesting. And full time, I resigned completely. I went into theology.
Sure.
And I finished that and I lectured for a few years.
Lecturing theology.
Yes, specifically.
Theology ki Bible mus.
Anyway.
Sure.
Yeah, it's fundamental principles,
Yeah.
basically, yeah. So from there, and then I went and started business management because now I was in business and I was actually kind of doing a shift. So I've started that. Those are the 3 probably degrees that I would say I have, but then many other things in between. I've also started leadership, which is what I'm currently doing.
Okay, and when do you come to Johannesburg? Because obviously your life was in KZN.
Oh, yes, yeah. So got married in KZN. Just before we started having children, we've always had this vision that we're not going to be a picket fence type of a family.
Yeah.
We just kind of feel we are people orientated and we're called to different nations, different people, different cultures. So we already knew that right from the beginning. So we moved to Cape Town. In Cape Town, she fell pregnant, and we thought having a baby away from everybody will not be a good thing. So we came back home in KZN.
Yeah.
and baby born there. I think we were in KZN for 2-3 years or something like that. I can't remember. And then had an opportunity to come to Joburg.
Yeah.
Because at the time I was running my own consulting company.
Yeah.
But I was just tired of working on my own. I just wanted to be part of a dynamic team. And the opportunity had come 3 years and we were talking. But anyway, eventually it came through. So to come and run a business this side
Yeah.
for a particular company and then joining my company with that company. So that's how I made it up to Joburg.
To the city of gold.
Yeah.
So you already spoke about your wife there, and how do you meet your wife? Which year? How old were you?
Okay, so it's a very interesting story.
I would like to hear that.
It's a very interesting story. So I was friends with a brother
Yeah.
first. And the brother I met, maybe I was 21. I remember I said I joined the church. So,
Yeah.
when I moved from the township that I grew up in, Wamakuta, we moved to a place called The Bluff, which is a suburb.
Yeah.
In that suburb, I then joined a church in that suburb. Then through coffee shops and all of that, there was one church that used to run a coffee shop on the Friday. I met the brother.
Yeah.
We just connected. So we became friends, and it's a very interesting story.
Yeah.
And then I met their youngest sister.
Okay.
So the brother's youngest sister.
Yeah.
So there is a brother, another brother, and then my late wife, and then her sister.
The little
So
sister.
I met the oldest brother.
And the
Then somehow I met the youngest sister.
Yeah.
Can't remember how, but I met her. And we kind of just really connected. We were really good. And then it so happened that their church was closing down, moving somewhere. And so some of the people that were living came to our church
Okay.
because they were already coming to the youth that I was part of.
Yeah.
That's how I met her.
So what kind of a knowing each other did you have with the little sister? Was it just like friends or
Just
you guys
how's
were-
it, how you, just knowing a person.
Okay.
Not like
Liking
we were
each
tight.
other.
But I was friends with their brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, there was none of that, I was very
Okay.
focused. I
I'm
was
just
very
checking.
focused, yeah. So when I met her sister,
Yeah.
my late wife.
Yeah.
So my late wife, at the time I met her first, she was married.
When you guys were meeting for the first time, she was married.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the time she was married. I wasn't married. I was in a relationship. I guess another story.
Yeah.
I was in a relationship, but it wasn't really going the way. So eventually it ended, but we just became friends.
Yeah.
And so I knew her, and then she got divorced. I kind of knew her as a person.
Okay.
Then she got divorced. Long story again. It's a
Yeah.
long story, but anyway, she got divorced, and I didn't like her for getting divorced. So I was not friends with her. I was cordial with her, but I didn't like her just because she got divorced. So I
Okay.
judged her basically.
All right.
From a biblical perspective. I thought,
Yeah.
how dare you?
How you do you?
live. I didn't know the stories behind
Yeah.
or whatever. Anyway, long story short, there was this one day at church where you go and give money
Offering.
in offering.
Yeah.
So on this day, they said, before you put an offering, if you've got an issue against someone else,
Yeah.
you need to go and make right with that person
Don't
before.
tell me that you spoke about that.
I did. So that was very top of my mind when they said that.
Yeah.
So I went up to her. I said, hey, listen, so and so, I know we know each other, but I just really judged you for getting divorced.
Yeah.
As a result, I just kind of wrote you off. I just wanted to forgive me. I asked her, And she kind of understood because there's
Yes.
been a lot of things that has been happening which I wasn't aware of,
Yeah.
people saying bad things. So
Brother
she
Nkosinathi.
appreciated someone who just went straight up,
Yeah.
and said it. So yeah.
Was honest.
And then we just became friends.
How old were you and how old was she?
So I was 24 at
Yeah.
the time,
Yeah.
probably. And she was 23 because she was a year younger than me.
And already divorced.
Yeah, because she got married at 21.
Oh.
And it was not an ideal situation, another
Yeah.
story. But she felt, because she lost her parents when she was quite young, at 16. So she was staying with her aunt. And when this guy asked her, was dating this guy, just, someone must have a boyfriend. When this guy asked to marry her, she said, no, you must go ask my aunt, hoping the aunt was going to say no. But the aunt said yes. And then it happened,
Okay.
That's a story now I hear from her kind of like later,
Yeah.
right? So that's how it happened. But of course, it didn't work out for various reasons. Some things were not so good. But anyway, it ended so quick. So 21 and 23, I think she got divorced. 24, we kind of now having this conversation. We're becoming friends, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you started talking.
Yeah.
And one thing
So
led
I
to
still
another.
didn't like her as a potential person
Yeah.
for the longest time. I mean, I was okay with friendship. But we started dating at 27. I was 27 by
Sure.
then. So we were friends for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we started dating at 27. At 28, we got married.
A year later.
Yeah.
Is it because you knew each other for a long time?
Yeah, because
that
we were
you-
friends.
Yeah.
We were like very clear. We were clear with friends. But in between dating, starting, and
Yeah.
getting married, we broke up twice because I still wasn't sure if this is what I want to be part of, you know?
Yeah.
Someone who's divorced. But
Yeah.
anyway, I think I had gotten over that part because I had had lots of stories of what actually happened and how it happened and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So at 28, we get married and we have this amazing wedding
Okay.
in
in KZN.
KZN. But a long story short, I'm going to shorten it. We got married live on radio.
Live on radio.
And at the time, the internet was becoming big at the
Yeah.
time, and it was live online in the world, you know. So first couple to ever be married live on radio. So we actually got married live on radio.
Who connected you guys?
It was a competition that they were actually they had put out. East Coast Radio, to
Yeah.
be very specific. I mean, I don't mind mentioning them.
Yeah.
But it was Marry Me Live, the competition, on the 14th of February.
Oh my God. What
So
a life story.
Yeah. So in Valentine's. And we had just got engaged in September.
Yeah.
Or I had asked her to get married in September. But, you know, of course, finances at that time are not so great. So, like, hoping and praying that, you know, things really
Something.
work out, you
Yeah.
know. And Ahmed, it's such a long story. I can't tell all the details, but
Actually, do. We still have a bit of time. Do, because it's
Okay.
always women telling the stories of how they met their husband. So hearing it from the other side, it's like, okay.
sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So we say let's get married.
Yeah.
And then I say April, being my birthday month, the following year, of course. So I say April, we set a date,
Yeah.
and with the money that I had, we booked the venue
Yeah.
earlier, probably around about, I don't know, October or something. And I think in November she heard about this because I never used to listen to East Coast Radio because it was an English,
Radio.
mostly radio station.
Was she English?
She was English.
Okay.
Yeah. So she's Scottish. She was Scottish. So that's the kind of radio station she listened to. I would listen to it. Sometimes I wouldn't. But anyway, she heard about this competition that you had to write. If I remember correctly, I still have the whole letter that she wrote. Amazing, beautiful. But anyway, we had to write, people had to write why they believe they are the best couple of the East Coast, as in the East Coast, you know,
Coast, yes.
the coastal area.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it was, but it could have been more other things. I can't remember. Anyway,
What was her reason in the letter that he wrote to the radio?
no, I mean you'll have to read the letter. It's very difficult to pick one thing, but
Okay.
it was just I was blown away when I finally got to read what she had written. So I didn't know about this, by the way. So I've just proposed, and we said we're going to get married. We set a date.
Yeah.
And here's a man has to work hard to find the money to get married. We booked the venue, and she decided with the money she's got, she's going to go buy a dress. She
Yeah.
buys a dress, you know, and then she doesn't tell me all of this, okay, that she's written this letter or whatever.
Yes.
But there is a little important part that is very, very key.
Yeah.
So we were invited to this guy who had been preaching somewhere, and we were invited into his hotel for intimate conversation. Few people, you know, probably, I don't know, 8 people that were invited. I can't remember, by a friend of mine that I was at college with. So anyway, he said, hey, you guys must come through. It would be great for you guys to meet this guy, whatever. Anyway, we go to this thing. It's in the hotel, in his room.
Yeah.
And so we're having this chat, and I think they asked for an offering for something. There was a something, but it wasn't like about preachy or anything. It was just for something. So we didn't have any money that night because we just thought we were going for a conversation. But she really felt about this thing as like really strong. So in the English culture,
Yeah.
the father pays for the wedding.
Okay.
Whereas in the African culture, a man does everything, right?
Yes.
Lobola and everything. But in the English culture, the last gift the father gives to their child who's getting married
Yes.
pays for the wedding in general, for a whole wedding.
All right.
So we're sitting in this hotel and she's hearing this message, whatever it was. But in her head, and she didn't tell me all of this, and only later. So she feels, hey, I don't have a father. My dad died when I was 4, and my mother died when I was 16. So there is no one to pay for my wedding.
Yeah.
Because in her head, that's how she had
That's
it.
how, yeah.
In my head, I had it like, I'm going
I
to be
have to
doing all
work.
of this, right?
Yes.
Anyway, her mother had given her a ring a while ago.
Yeah.
So she said, this is the best thing that means anything to me. If I had to give millions, this would be my millions. So she gave that, she put that in the offering, right? In this basket that was flowing in this hotel. Anyway, then she writes this letter, then, whatever.
Yes.
Then first week of February, around about the 3rd, I'm starting a new job on that day, first day, 3rd of February, I still remember. I'm in this new job. And she tells me, hey, love, I've reached into this thing, and today they are announcing a winner. I think I'm going to win it.
Yes.
I said, what? Anyway, I don't pay attention to it. But anyway, I tell a couple of people at work, hey, this is what my wife just told me. Da, 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 da. My fiance just told me this.
Yeah.
So everybody tunes in. I don't tune in because I'm new.
Yes.
I'm figuring things out. Anyway, she won it. Long story short, she won
Yes.
it. 3rd of February, we had to get married on the 14th of February, and we were planning to get married
April.
in April. So you can imagine, just 2 weeks to get everything sorted out.
Why
so
did
that's
you?
how it happened.
Okay. Why did you find the significance to speak about the ring offering?
So because that gift, it was an offering to say, God, you are my father. Take care of me because I don't have a father.
Oh.
So as a seed, like when you want to reap something, you're going to sow something.
Yeah.
So in her head, that's how it was. Like, this is my seed offering
Yeah.
for you to give me a harvest.
Yeah.
In other words, in kind of taking care of my wedding. So basically,
Which happened.
which actually happened. Everything was paid for. We didn't even put 2 cents into anything, like literally, not even a cent. Cars, brand new cars that had come into the country at the time. I think we were Volvos or something else, but like everything, my suit, my best man's suit, the rings, the food, the ceremony, the everything. So
I feel like I'm listening to like a fairy tale story.
so that's what actually happened. So that's how we started
Yeah.
our life together.
So you being Zulu and her being white, is it white or English or Scottish? Her being Scottish, how did your family receive that? And this thing of now the wedding, parents knowing the wedding happening around April, and then now these people are winning competitions. Now these people are getting married. How did your parents and your family receive that?
So firstly, probably my mother didn't mind at first that we were dating
Yeah.
because she just thought it's a phase.
Yeah.
It's going to come and go. You know how everything happens in
Yes.
phases.
Yeah.
But when I told her that I'm marrying her, she was not happy about that, and she had a conversation with me.
What was her issue?
Just, she's not the right woman for you, whatever. I can't remember the reasons because I never paid attention to them. But fortunately, I think by then, me going to church, and me going to study theology,
Yeah.
I was really emancipated a lot. I was very independently thinking spiritually.
Yeah.
So everything for me was following from that.
Yeah.
So anything else is lesser than this. Culture, tradition, everything else was not important to me than
Yeah.
the belief and the spiritual belief. So by the time I was at that stage telling them I'm getting married, I wasn't asking them if I could get married.
Yeah.
I was just letting them know that this is what I'm doing. So irrespective of how they felt and whatever they can, my dad was also not happy, but he never said anything.
Yeah.
Because I was stating it, I wasn't asking for permission, And I did say it to my mom. I said, I hear what you say, Mom, and it's okay that you feel like that. May her soul rest in peace because she's since passed. But I just said, I'm letting you know that's what's happening. If you want to be part of it, that would be fantastic. But if you're not, we're still doing it.
Sure. So you did not pay lobola?
So no, I did not because they didn't ask for one. Different culture, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Have you dated a white person before her?
I had done that. Actually,
Oh, those are your people. Okay.
not only, but I had actually had an issue even probably about 4 or 5 years before that about the lobola, how it was working and how it was being done.
What do you think about it briefly?
I just think that it's commercialized far too much right now. And we've lost the fundamental principle of what the principle is and what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Because if I pay lobola to you and the lobola is paid to your family uses that money to help you establish your family. It's not for the dad to buy a new car.
Yeah.
And also, it's more an appreciation for raising a daughter and whatever. But now it's no longer that. It's a commercialized thing. I've sent my daughter to varsity. Now I'm losing out. So you got to pay me out.
Yeah. And you'll never
I mean,
really
it's almost
put a
like
price on it.
exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
or which in isiZulu they say ilobola qedwa. That means you never finish paying
You'll
lobola
never.
because you keep going to the family
Yeah.
because they become your family. You bring things, you do things for the family, whatever. So that's considered as part of ongoing lobola. So the way it's happening, I'm okay with lobola itself.
Yeah.
I'm just not okay with how it's happening
now.
Yeah. I
And then
think
what
it's
do you
commercialized.
think about the legality of in community of property out of what do you think about us having to sign? Is it also necessary or not necessary for you, for people to sign and make it legal?
So I think from that perspective, maybe I might even go into the spiritual side of things.
Yeah.
There was a time when the disciples challenged Jesus and said, hey, they're asking us for tax. Why should we pay tax? We are free, you're the king or whatever.
Yeah.
He says, hey, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and to God what belongs to God. So I think we live in a land that is governed by a government, and the government put policies in place, and we need to respect and love and honor our leaders. So when something is there to fundamentally maintain the society and how society functions, and then we need to align ourselves with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys get married on the 14th of February. 20? No. 20. Yes, 20?
2012, I think.
Oh, 2012.
I think 2012.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. Yeah.
And then you guys are devoted Christians. I assume you're not having sex before marriage.
Yep. We did not.
Is it?
We kissed.
How many times?
I mean, the first time I kissed my wife was after we got married.
Huh.
But before, she was my girlfriend, so I kissed her as my girlfriend.
Okay.
But as a wife, the first time was when we got married. Just
but
a
prior
tease.
to her, the girlfriend that you
Yeah.
had, you were having sexual.
So I did have a son. I
that?
didn't mention that in my first relationship.
Yeah.
At the age of 20,
Oh.
yeah, I've got a son.
Okay,
so we had a son. So of course I had been
Obviously.
promiscuous before.
There are receipts.
Yes, of
There is
course.
a receipt.
100%.
So fine, you married this woman, and what kind of a woman is she? What kind of marriage did you guys have?
So I will say, and the way I always sum it up, and I will use a negative word, but I will find and I will correct it because I've since learned
All right.
a far better positive word than
Okay.
that, right? So really an amazing woman, right? An amazing, and I know everybody would say that about their
Their
woman,
wife.
which is true.
Yeah.
It's true. It's not wrong. But I'm just saying she was an amazing woman because she was very, very God-fearing, one. And she was very astute about who she is and how she conducted and carried herself for herself, not for other people. And the fact that she was divorced, a lot of people judge her, but she still rose above the judgment and still was so good with everyone that had judged her, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So it's not easy. But here is a word that I used a lot to define her. She was naive. She was so naive about life and the world. But what I since found, now here's a positive one,
Yeah.
is that she was so pure and innocent.
Yeah.
She didn't look at you and think bad of you
Yes.
before you've done anything bad.
Childlike spirit.
So purity is just pure and innocence to say, hey, you know what? There's no reason why I should think you are a bad person.
Oh my gosh.
But until you've done something to prove that you are a bad person, then you are a bad person.
Yeah.
So in essence, just to really put it, so that's the kind of a woman she was. Whereas me, coming from the township that was riddled with violence, my first murder I witnessed, and I witnessed so many, was, I think, at the age of 10 or 11.
Sure.
So I come from a very traumatic, which we never used the word trauma because we
Yeah.
didn't know that word existed,
100%.
but we just lived our lives. So I had seen a lot and
Yeah.
witnessed a lot, and I
Yeah.
was street smart, and I was not going to believe anyone that I just meet for the first time for anything.
Yeah.
So you can understand really the dynamics of what. But I generally believe I had a good heart in a way for someone sincere like that to want to be with someone like me.
Yeah.
And I was not an evil person, but I wasn't a good person either.
Yeah.
I was naughty, just
Yeah.
in normal naughtiness. But our relationship, I actually define it as someone who really created a home out of a house that we had. And she loved me. So I always tell the people I'm dating today or people I will date that I come from a place of love. My mother loved me like
Yeah.
I'm loved by a female. My first girlfriend loved me,
And give you a child.
who's the mother of my son, and genuinely did.
Yeah.
And the girl that I dated as well in between, I mean, there are others, but I'm just focusing on the real
serious
relationships. The girl I dated before my late wife, up to today, she loves me, right?
Now, what does she love you as? As just
Not
somebody?
just as a friend,
Okay.
not like romantically.
Not just checking.
She's married.
Okay.
And she lives far away from here,
Okay.
overseas, so she's not even near to do anything with me. But anyway, we're really good friends. And
Yeah.
we were friends before, and we remain good friends after. My wife loved me. And the one thing that I really, truly define her is how amazing a mother she was, not only to our children, but
Yeah.
in a way, there was an element of mothering me, because sometimes we men need to be mothered.
Which is tiring.
Which could be tiring, but there was that element, but not too much of that. Yeah. So we had a fantastic marriage, I would say, without its own, I mean, there's no relationship without challenges.
Yeah.
We've had lots of them, financially, relationally, getting bored of each other at some point, being busy for each other
Yeah.
because we're pursuing careers. All of those were some of the challenges that kind of came on the way. But in essence, one of the things that I think I will always honor and praise God for is how she loves our children. And it was as if, which is what I said on her funeral, it was as if the way she loved them, she knew she had a short time because she gave them everything.
What do you mean she loved? And why I'm asking is because you are singling it out. And in my mind, as the mom, I love my kids. But with your wife, it's like it was something so huge.
No, it was huge.
What difference? Yeah.
It was huge because I complained about it.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
I
Did you feel
complained
some
about
sort
it.
of jealousy? Or?
Yes, absolutely. Because I felt so the first child we had, she miscarried, and I was away. I was in America at the time that happened. So she went through it alone. So that was a very significant thing. It really affected her. When our second child was born,
Yeah.
she just almost as if she was going to lose her. So she just gave her all. And I kind of like was a secondary from that, you know?
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then our second born being born. So it really her life, almost I would say it became a children. And I was just a partner that is working this thing with her.
Yeah.
That's how I felt
I
at
hear that.
most times, right? I really just felt that.
Was she a stay-at-home mom?
So for our first daughter, when she was born, she was working probably for until she was, I don't know, maybe a couple of months. And we realized that the people we were had, they were not doing a good job. So she stayed at home. Probably she was a stay-at-home mom, but entrepreneurial because she started businesses.
Yeah.
But she was a stay-at-home mom, and the priority was
The
kids,
kids.
and then the business was just to support, you know?
Yeah.
So probably I think for 8 years or something. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think she was a stay-at-home mom for 8 years until both kids were back at school. So then she kind of like felt, okay, I need to pursue something, especially when we moved to Joburg.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then her businesses kind of like we left them and we closed them, and then we came to Joburg because this was a bigger, better opportunity, a new start. So yeah, so when she got here, she got involved. She went back to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say was your biggest issue, like this one thorn in our flesh in your marriage that that my wife had issues with this. Either you going to bars every single day, or
Okay. So interestingly,
yeah,
um, I mean, I always tell my friends this.
yeah,
I'd never been into a bar to have a drink. I'm just using your example.
yeah.
When I was married, ever, because I had a life at home and I had a
Okay.
life at work.
Yeah.
So when I finished, I just went home. Like there was no other alternative in my head.
Okay.
Even when I wasn't as highly involved in church as I was because I was more focused on business,
Yeah.
but still, home was my life.
Yeah.
If my home is, I'm not at home, I'm at work.
Yeah.
If that's not the two places I'm in, I'll be with family somewhere, but we're together doing something,
I hear
either
that.
visiting, yeah? But to answer your real question,
Yes.
I just picked up on your example. To answer your real question, I think the biggest thorn in our relationship, something that just kept coming up,
Yeah.
was the mother of my son.
Baby mama
Yeah,
drama.
because I think for the longest of time, it took a long while until my son, I think, finished matric and went to varsity. That's when it kind of, but that's like a long time,
Long
right?
time. Yeah.
It's a long time. We got married when my son probably was about 9-ish
Oh.
or 8 even.
Yeah.
That's when we got married. So for the longest time until he was 19,
Guess we're just
that was probably one of the biggest of things,
Yeah.
Um,
What was the issue? Is it
no, just the
visitation?
issue is I always felt guilty for leaving her.
Yeah.
So I always felt guilty for
Yes.
leaving her. So whenever she reaches out to me,
You'll entertain her.
that guilt will just tick, and then I will try and yeah, but just tell it, and
Yes.
yeah, but you don't understand her, and then, but why are you defending it, kind of thing,
Yeah.
and then that will kind of really spiral.
Were you guys not still together, like background,
No,
still
no, no, no,
seeing each
no,
other?
no, no, no. We kind of when it ended, it ended. Even for that 4 years, I was friends with my late wife.
Yeah.
I wasn't dating her. We were not hanging out, but we were just handling our son issue.
So what would be the issue though if you guys were not dating and your wife most probably knew that you guys, unless if there were things that you were doing that she thought that maybe you guys were dating?
So no, it's just I used to give into ridiculous
Okay,
things,
Yeah.
from her perspective. But in hindsight, I think from my perspective, I mean, there will be just demands that, but I just felt bad. The fact that she's alone
Yeah.
and we had been so together, and
Yeah.
so close. In fact, she had become part of my family. She was like my wife, actually.
I hear.
Because we would travel together with the family to holidays. She was accepted. Up to today, she's very good friends with all my cousins.
Yeah.
So to that point is when it ended, when I ended it, and it
Yeah.
didn't even end, I ended it. So I always had that guilt
I hear you.
of what I'd done. So I just succumb easily to anything she would say
Yes.
without even thinking about what my wife will think about
Yeah,
this. Sometimes I'll hide it so that she doesn't find
And
out.
now that will just be the worst. Like, why are you hiding
So then
it?
she will find out at some
Yes.
point. I said, but I didn't want to have this, I was avoiding this. So it was just really that. And it was just trying to do good by her,
Yeah.
just so that she's good. Because she was devastated when she realized I'm going to get married. Because she was always hoping we will eventually maybe make it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where is
So
she now?
No, she's still around. We still talk. We're friends.
What do you guys talk about now?
No, but I mean, we don't talk as much now.
Yeah.
Probably just if we ever I mean, for example, the other day, in fact, 2 days ago, I called her, just to say, hey, I just had my son needs this is going through something, but he doesn't want to talk to us. I had to via my cousin, Hey, if you can help out, please help out. But then 6-8 months will go by, sometimes even almost a
Yeah.
year will go by. So we don't talk every day. My son is big now. He's 30. So
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
yeah. So he needs no one to talk on his behalf anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and now going into, so you have 2 kids with your wife,
My late wife, yeah.
a girl and a boy.
No, girls. Both of them are girls. One
my
just is about to turn 19 this month.
Yeah.
One is 16, turning 17 at the end of August.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're teenagers, fully.
Sure. And you're okay. now your wife, you guys live together, and you guys are having a thriving marriage, I would say.
Yeah, a nice, wonderful, enjoyable marriage.
Yeah.
Maybe thrive. It's kind of like, sounds like it's over the
It's
moon. You know,
okay.
it was good.
It was okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful, enjoyable.
Yeah. And I want to go into, I'm going to cry. I can feel myself, I'm going to cry. I want to go into her passing. So what happens? What happens to your wife?
Okay, so we talk in the day
Yeah.
via text. She had a very busy, demanding work. Was a general manager slash HR manager for this metering company.
Yeah.
So we chat during the day.
Yes.
She's fine, everything is good. And then in the afternoon, we chat over the phone. Hey, love, I'm about to leave work. I'm going to go to the school. My daughter was schooling at Parkview at the time.
Yeah.
Because we had just recently changed her from doing isiZulu because I wasn't available to help her through isiZulu to change it to do Afrikaans from grade 3, having done isiZulu. Now she's in grade 9. She's going to go to Afrikaans. So,
Yeah.
because at least mom could help her because she was around. Anyway, so she was going to meet the teacher at school. It was a parents teacher kind of evening, to talk about how do we support the transition, what do we need to do from our side, whatever. So that's what she was going to chat about. So she goes, she says, hey, I'm going. I said, okay, cool, don't worry, I've just cooked. Food is ready, so we'll dish and we'll put your food on. As soon as you get home, you guys can eat. So she was with my older daughter.
Yeah.
And so they went, so the teacher, 15 minutes in Yana, it wasn't even that long. Anyway, so I'm at home with my youngest. My son is out. I think he was in Durban already at the time. So anyway, time passes and I'm like, okay, they're not coming home. Anyway, maybe this meeting is important. It's really long. So my daughter eventually calls me
Yeah.
in panic mode, like screaming, crying. And I'm thinking something bad happened, hijacked, something like that,
Yes.
Anyway, she says, no, mom just collapsed in the car. Please come, dad, please come, whatever, So I said, okay, cool. Of course, now my younger daughter hear me panicking on the phone.
Yes.
She knows something is wrong. So she comes running. What's wrong? Crying already.
Yes.
What's wrong with them? What's going on? And anyway, we leave. We get to the school. And what had happened was they had gone, seen the teacher, had a chat, came out, jump in the car, start the car. As she was pulling out of the driveway or out of the parking, she kind of stopped and she reversed into the parking. Then my older daughter next to her in the car in the front, she says, Mom, what's wrong? Why are you going back? She says, no, I feel like I'm going to faint. So I just want to kind of compose myself. She says, okay. As she said that, my daughter tells me now that she just collapsed over the steering wheel. Right? So my daughter feels, okay, mom is fainting. Let me just wait a little bit. She's going to come back just now, right? So she waits. I mean, a little bit, to her feels like a lifetime, but I don't think she would have waited that long. Anyway, she realizes that mom is not coming back. She's shaking her. She's, mom. Anyway, she gets out. She calls everybody. That's when she calls me. So we get there. Everybody's waiting for the ambulance. The ambulance is coming. We rush her to the hospital with the car. We just moved her on the side. We just drive to the hospital. When we get there, the doctor tells us, no, she's gone. She must have been gone probably about 10 minutes back. But that whole period maybe must have been about, 30 minutes from the time she collapsed to the time that I get called, to the time I get there, the ambulance called to us to get to hospital.
Yes.
I think all put together, it must have been around about 30 minutes. So at some point, whether we were driving there, but I still felt as because I was with her in the car and the girls were with the other parents following us. I remember holding her hand and driving as fast as I could. And I remember as if she was squeezing me because I was talking to her,
Yes.
kind of all along. But anyway, when we got to hospital and by the time she was rushed in, she was just declared now. She had been passed a few minutes ago, So that's how she passed away. With the autopsy that was done and everything, turned out it was a stroke. So a stroke could either paralyze you or it could kind of hit you, but it's a mild stroke and then you can recover, you sharp. Or sometimes it could hit you and you basically die.
What causes that? Like, what causes it? Stress or what?
I'm actually glad you asked that question because I asked the doctor. And interestingly, especially for females,
Yeah.
this is very important for them to know this. The doctor that did an autopsy said to me, so this is April now, April 4th, right? So she says to me that, from Jan, February, March, this is the fourth person that died of exactly the same thing. So she tells me, okay, there's a big name. I would never repeat that name. Even if I look at it, I could never read it.
Yeah.
It's just one of those medical terms that, I've never heard as a Zulu man. So anyway, she says, in essence, what that
Yeah.
is below your brain at the back, lower back. Most people are born with a weak vein, and that vein at some point ruptures. Sometimes what causes a rupture is when you're playing rugby. Let's say you're playing rugby and there's a bump or whatever, that thing ruptures. So the blood start leaking into the brain. But it could take a while,
Yeah.
a long time. And so she says that's what happens. So it's either through a fall or a bump or anything, but also pressure and anxiety and stress. If that vein is already leaking, because of course, when you're feeling pressure, blood rushes into it, makes everything up. So it says over time. And so I said, how do you know you have this?
Yeah.
And she said to me, well, unfortunately, a lot of doctors don't know what to test for,
Yeah.
but the most indicative thing is a severe headache that lasts longer.
Okay.
And 2 weeks prior that, she had had a severe headache that lasted probably about 3 or 4 days.
Sure.
And at some point, when she went to the bathroom early in the morning, I remember she collapsed, and freaked out. But this is 2 weeks back, and she was battling with this headache, but it was for long. Like it feels like a migraine. No matter what you take, it just doesn't go away, but it's really, really there. But she says all of the four of them had high-powered jobs.
Sure.
So, executives, you gotta have to prove as a black man,
Yeah.
you always have to prove yourself twice to a white counterpart.
Yeah.
As a woman, you have to do 3-4 times that when you're in the same level.
Yeah.
So you keep having to prove. People don't believe because Promise said this,
Yeah.
then Promise said this. No, it's like, women.
You know how
You
we
know,
yeah.
they're emotional. She doesn't know what she's talking about. But you have to work always extra. So I think that was also part of it. But yeah,
pressures of work.
she referenced that it's a stress, and also she also referenced the fact that your shoulders they get tense, and she used to get those when we were still in Devon, like this. I mean, if you stress and you've got a tight knot, but
Yeah.
but when someone touches it, it's like it's a sore. It's so painful. She says it's also those. Those are indicative. So to find out if it's that, you have to actually do a scan. You got to scan because it's below the brain. It's not just something you pick up.
Is it called a okay? There's this woman.
It's a big
who's-
word.
You know why I'm asking is because
Yeah.
there's this lady who lost her child. And then it's something, what you're explaining is what she was explaining because her child was okay. The child was 9, and then the child just came into her bedroom, started saying headache, headache, and then the child passed on. And when they took her to the hospital, they were explaining something like what you are explaining now.
So it's possible because she says some people are born with that vein weak in general. Some people through a concoction or through something. But what it's made worse by continuing because stress is a heavy. People don't understand. It's a heavy pressure on the body, and what the body releases, the cortisols and all of those things that happens in the body. So over a long period of time, she says you can fix it very easily
Yeah.
if you pick it up.
If you pick it up.
But if you don't pick it up, eventually it erupts. So because of the blood flow into the brain that leads to the stroke,
Yeah.
and so yeah, that's what really kind of took it.
Happened.
Yeah.
So looking back on that day, how you guys slept, how you guys woke up, the conversation between the day, nothing was like, when you look back, nothing was telling you that this is a bad day.
No,
Nothing.
no, absolutely. I still have the SMS that she sent me that day in the morning. Because it was it was easy. And also, as I say, just before walking into school, her calling me to say, hey, I've finished work. I'm going to pop in here. And then it was fine. There was no, actually, I got a headache. She would normally say,
Yes.
yeah, I'm just struggling, man. I got such a headache and whatever. I said, okay, cool, don't worry. I'll put some water for you when you get home. I'll massage you or whatever the case might be, But yeah, no, on that day, nothing. I mean, even in reflection, it's just that post a passing, I don't like going into that space. I don't think I've spent time really going into it, thinking one by one. I just became functional
That's
because,
what I
yeah.
wanted to ask you.
So,
That
yeah.
how are you now? Like, how are you?
Yeah, it's a very difficult question to answer
Yeah.
because how you are is how you're feeling right now. But how you really are, sometimes you're not aware. But I know that I'm not sharp, that I can say, you know? In fact, it's been what now? This is 5 years, I
Yeah.
think, since her passing.
This is 2019. It's 5.
Yeah. I was chatting to a friend of mine beginning of this year. We're having coffee, just catching up before the year begins, big time. And he was just sharing about the struggle he's going through with his wife, and divorce is imminent and all of that. And we were just chatting. So I was listening. And then towards the end, it took about an hour and a half, our conversation from his side. And then he kind of posed a question. I can't remember the question, but like, how are you doing? How are you coping with whatever? I can't remember the question. I think it must have been around those areas. And I just thought, for the first time, okay, this is for the first time. I said, I said something to him. I said, hey, dude, I actually, for the first time, I'm realizing that I've been lost all along. I'm trying to find home. But I keep driving in the right roads. But when I get there, there's no home.
Oh.
Like my home is not there. So I use that as an analogy. And it was the first time. I didn't even think about it. I just, as I was answering his question, these words came. So I keep driving around, keep driving around and thinking I'm going to find home. But what I'm realizing
Yeah.
is my home, like in Durban, some homes were here, and then those floods, they were washed and there was nothing. Like there was nothing, not there was foundations, there was nothing. Everything was washed away. That's how it feels like. Like I'm realizing now, probably as I'm telling you this for the first time, that I don't have a home. I need to build one again. So, and that being a home, I think for me was realizing that my wife was my home, and of course, I mean, I've struggled after that. I've got into relationships, I've done things, and I think even in doing that, I was trying to find her.
Pieces of her.
So when I'm meeting you, I'm thinking, oh, there's something about it, and then
Yeah.
and then you realize, no, it's not her, and then you realize there's something about, no,
Yeah.
it's not quite it, because I've been looking for that at the time, and without clarity of saying what I'm looking for doesn't exist anymore. We need to create something new. So to answer how I'm doing, I'd say it's just I got a lot of work to still do. I've done therapy, a bit of therapy, but
Yeah.
I know there's still a lot more of it that needs to be done. It's just I had to put myself together to function for my kids.
Yeah.
When she passed, I thought, okay, they don't have anyone. It's just me here. Let's just make it work. So for the longest of time, I think I just function. But even in end functioning, there was a lot of wobbles, a lot of them, So yeah.
So when she passed, your kids were how old?
So if I say she's turning 19 this year and one is turning 17, so we just minus 5 years from
14.
that.
Yeah, 14
Yeah.
and okay. And how did you now pick up yourself from there? Because obviously she was running the household, she was running the kids. How did you now bring yourself into doing what she was doing? Firstly, how did you say I'm going to raise these kids alone? I'm thinking you would think, okay, my aunt must come or must take them somewhere or
Yeah.
something like that. That's what some black men would do.
Sure. So that was not even a thought.
Oh,
I wouldn't even say it wasn't an option. It wasn't a thought.
okay.
Like probably we've only had people supporting us in parenting. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a month fully. Even when we were in Durban,
Yeah.
we're just so independent. Plus, we moved away from a lot of family, right? So we are just, and it's hard as hell. I encourage anyone, please have support around you.
Single parenting is hard. I can imagine being a man single parenting.
But as a couple, always have support.
Yeah.
Have close people, family, if it's good friends, if it's friends that you've met at school, whatever, but create a good, solid community around you. It's way better to do that. But we've always done it alone, you know? I mean, as I said, we moved to Cape Town on our own, we came back, we get Bath, we moved to Joburg, so we've always just done it alone. So that was not an option, you know, because we had spoken about a whole lot of things, like if I die, what needs to happen? If she dies, what needs to happen? We even wrote things down, you know? This is what, I mean, basically. So that was not an option to ask someone or whatever. The aunt was there immediately, and probably for a week or two, but then, of course, she has a life and she has to move on with her life. But in essence, I resigned from work.
Sure.
And I could afford to do that.
Yeah.
So I resigned from work. That's 2019, probably May, end of May, I resigned. I just decided, okay, let me resign so that I'm available, you know? So for the whole 2019, I was kind of just taking a sabbatical, so to speak.
Yeah.
2020 was COVID, so that kind of carried on. 2022, I think towards the 2021, I decided I'm going to just go back into consulting as I used to have my own thing. But not heavily big time because it was towards the end of the year when COVID kind of was ending. So 2022, yeah. So I think that privilege of being able to do something like that was helpful. If I had to work, I don't know how I'd have coped.
How you'd have done it.
But then I also took them to boarding school because of the travels once I started working and all of that, which worked for 2 years. But after that, they said, no boarding school.
We're coming home.
Yeah, so from last year, they're kind of like, we're not doing boarding school.
Yeah.
But because of the type of work I do, I'm very flexible and I'm able to manage that.
And now they're older.
Of course, they are older now. But I think, and I must say this, being functional, from my side, I don't want to speak for men. From my side, being functional was just more practical things, like taking you to school, taking you here, doing this, buying you food, being at home, making sure this. Emotionally, I don't think I've done a great job with my kids.
Yeah.
As much as I try, we sit down, we have a chat, we talked about it, we talked about mom's passing. But I don't think if there's a scale 1 to 10, probably my emotional contribution in the most effective way, if it's a 4, I'm just being generous to myself.
Oh, wow.
But I think that's a struggle. Particularly after mom passed, I shut those emotions down, which is something that I'm currently going through and I'm learning because I'm focusing on the course about processing emotions. And is that when you shut bad emotions and you think you're only shutting bad, but you shut everything.
Oh, okay.
So you can't say, I don't want to feel this because anxiety is bad or sorrow is bad or sadness is bad, but I'm going to be happy. Because if you armor up, because that's what we do. We put on an armor so that people don't get in for whatever reason. But what we don't realize is we actually imprison ourselves. So while they can't get in, but you also can't get out.
Can't get out.
So you can't have an open conversation with someone because there is a wall between the two of you. Whether it's for love, for care, for empathy, or for fear, anxiety, and sadness.
Yeah.
Those things are shut inside of you and people can't get inside of you. So those are the things that we slowly, I work on it. I don't think I've been completely, and of course I'm not being generous to myself. I need to be as hardcore. If they had to talk, maybe they can say something different. But because of me, I know that area of emotional connection, it's not an easy thing. Yeah.
So just going more into their personal life a bit, their first period, did they have their first, because they're 2 girls, did they have their first period when mom was there or after mom passed?
No.
And how did it go?
Fortunately, mom was still there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that said, that's not a conversation that I shy away from.
Okay.
It's not the things I'm squibble about. You know, since they were young, we've always spoken about sexuality first. Sexuality is about changes in the body, what happens to you, before we talked about sex.
Yeah.
Because generally people say, talk to your kids about sex, but you can't speak about sex if you haven't spoken about sexuality. But also you can't speak about sexuality if you haven't spoken about character. Because everything must be a foundation when you're going to build into something. You can't put a roof when there's no bricks, there's no foundation. So just talking about sanctity, talking about loving yourself, respecting yourself,
Yeah.
understanding, boundaries, all of those kind of things. When they are 4, 5, 6, you got to start young. You don't
Yeah.
have to wait. You start young. So, unfortunately, I used to run a program for young people in schools about making wise choices based on character to avoid risky behavior, drugs, alcohol, whatever. So I was already very familiar with having this type of conversation.
With them.
So yeah, but fortunately, mom was already around she was still around when they had their periods. How she handled it. I was involved, man. I still talk to my daughters about their periods today. How heavy it is, and so it's not a taboo
Yeah.
topic to me, and I wouldn't have mind that.
Are they dating?
My older daughter she's 19. She's always been interested in boys. That one, and we know this. And we've had a conversation. But she is in a dating relationship, not all the time together.
What do you mean not all the time together?
So the guy is studying, just finished school, I think, a year before her. So he's busy studying. So they hardly see each other. In fact, I took her when there was a 14th of May to them have a picnic at the park, and that's when the first time I met her. But I think they've been dating from last year towards the end of last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but they talk on the phone all the time.
Are you dating yourself?
I was just ended a relationship. And yeah, we in
What?
the.
I'm
It's
asking.
ended, but I'm just saying we're friends. So sometimes.
You and friends with exes.
No, but we were friends even before we dated.
Okay.
So maybe let me just quickly tell
Yes.
in a few seconds.
Yes.
I met her when she was 21.
Yeah.
With the work that I used to do for young people, we used to train teachers to take this program into their schools. So we also used to train people who will train teachers.
Okay.
So how I met her back then, I was training this group of people who will be taking the program into of course, the teacher. That's how I first met her.
Yeah.
And she just, because of how I kind of train or whatever, she shared a story with me at the end of this training. And I was married already at the time. So happily so as well. I also had children, okay? So we just became friendly to each other. And eventually we really became friends. Like, I cannot tell you that there was ever a flirtation at one point, even when we were having lunch and whatever
Yeah.
the case might be. And she lived in a different province than I am. But I used to travel there all the time. And that's very important because my kids at first, they thought, oh, so you guys have been doing something all
Yeah.
along. But we had not even, and she was shocked when I asked her to be with me. But I asked her because she was the only woman I trusted.
Okay.
And what was most important, what is important to me in my life right now is I trust you or I don't trust you.
Okay.
No matter how sexy you are, no matter how rich you are, no matter whatever. If I don't trust you, then I don't know if I could fully commit to you.
Why did you guys break up?
Dynamics, a whole lot of them.
What kind of dynamics?
So outside of the province, and me being here, sometimes I would chat to a lot of people. I'll go out with mates, and of course they are ladies. She will call.
Why do you have so many girlfriends?
No, I've got a lot of boyfriends equally. It's just people you get along with. I mean, you go to, so people call it a bar, but it's a restaurant, but it plays music and there's a bar and we're sitting outside. For example, here in Melville, there's a lot of those.
Yeah.
Nice chiller spot, just literally chiller spot. So people come through, then you get to meet a whole lot of people. You're not looking to meet someone, but they just come because they know someone who's next to you.
Yeah.
And they know the girl, and then you're sitting on the big table, and then you end up knowing so many people. But because you do that in a regular sport of a period of time, then you really get to know those people. But you're not like, these are my go-to friends, but you have really good friends. You won't pass each other at the mall.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how it happens. So then you just end up just knowing a lot of people.
I'm just asking for my ladies because we've got a lot of divorced ladies, a lot of single moms that will really want to get with someone. So ladies, Nkosinathi is very much single. Are you looking?
Actually, no, because I'm just coming out of a relationship.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of people around me that I could date if I wanted to. But the thing is, I just think, as I said to another good friend of mine that I'm attracted to, and she's attracted to me. I said to her,
Relationship-wise.
relationship-wise, romantically-wise, okay?
Yeah.
I said to her, now I'm learning to process, not manage, but
Yeah.
I'm processing emotions. And it's been a beautiful journey for the past 2 months. Like, it's amazing. It's so empowering. And I said, I have not been on my own. I left home when I got married.
Yeah.
And then my wife paused. And so we lived together for the longest of time, right?
Yeah.
She passes, a couple of months go by, and I think I'm ready. I get involved in the relationship. I've been in this relationship for the past 4 years, right?
Yeah.
So now it's ending. So I can't get to another one immediately.
So
But I'm
this
happy to connect with people, just kind of,
mingle.
But yeah, mingle, I guess, or whatever the case may be. But the thing is, it's so important. And men always ask, what are women bringing on the table? Which is a nonsense question, I actually believe. You bring yourself into a relationship. You don't have to bring a thing with you,
Yeah.
but you need to bring yourself whole,
Yes.
not bruised,
Yes.
not broken, not messed up. Because then you're coming to mess up another child's life.
Yeah.
Why do you want to do that? So I think I'm at a space where I have messed up my best friend's life a little bit just because I wasn't whole,
Yeah.
because I hadn't dealt with some things. So I don't want to do that to someone else.
So now you're working on self.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any
It's a journey.
Are you gonna get married?
I don't want to be alone, that's for sure. Geez, I'm not, my kid's 18, okay, 31 soon in September. One is 18, 19 soon. One is 16. They're leaving me, these people. One has left me, lives in Durban already for a couple of years.
Yeah.
These two, one is going to Cape Town. Other one's going to finish. She says, Dad, I want to hang around. But she's starting to say to me, varsity and staying in varsity doesn't sound like...
Yes.
So they're going to leave me. Do you think I'm going to stay alone? I don't want to be alone. Absolutely not. But I also don't want to rush into something just because I don't want to be alone. I'm comfortable with being alone with myself. And it's taken me probably 3 years or 2.5 years
Yeah.
to actually be okay with being myself. And I do a whole lot of beautiful things on my own, and I'm happy with that. But I don't want to live alone for the rest of my life. I do want to have someone that will be crazy in love with me, but above all things, that we are good companions to each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay. So when you're speaking, I was just in closing. When you're speaking, I was like jotting dates in my mind. You said your wife died in April.
Yes.
Which day?
4th,
4th. And then your birthday?
27th.
And then you buried her when in May. Did you say?
No, just a week after that
Okay,
in
cool.
Durban, so just before my birthday. Yeah.
All right. What is your hope in closing? What is your hope for your children, your girls?
So I've always said to all my kids, all 3 of them, what will make me die happy
Yeah.
is when they can take care of themselves and contribute good to the world. That's it. I mean, there's not more fancy things around that.
Yeah.
I just want them to be okay with themselves and take care of themselves. In other words, they're not begging anyone.
Yeah.
They're not depending on a man for girls to provide for them. I just want them to take care of themselves and then contribute good to the world, do good to the world, through their careers, through their giftings, their personality.
Talents.
Yeah, but just contribute, because the rent we pay for living on earth is contribution. We all have to pay our rent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Second last question. How is your daughter that mom passed in front of?
Okay, for the longest of time, she wasn't well until she told me why she wasn't well.
Why was she?
She felt that she could have contributed to her mother's death by not reacting immediately, calling someone else. So you can imagine a child of 15, 14 at the time, feeling that, carrying that weight. But I mean, fortunately, she told me that I think it was within a year, if not early the following year, 2020. We were just having a said, yeah, but Dad, I feel guilty because, I didn't call the parents that were outside immediately. And I didn't call you immediately. If maybe I'd done that by the time we got to the hospital, Mom would have made it, So that's what she felt for the longest time. In fact, I mean, it's interesting you asked me that because today I was just in the kitchen. I think I was pouring water. I just thought about, hey, I need to have a chat to her about how she's doing with that thing.
So far.
Yeah, because I haven't followed up after that, and then they went to psychologists. But I personally haven't sat down to say, so how do you feel about mom's death? You
I
know,
think it's the
in
emotional
terms of
part that you're saying that you
Yeah.
have been lacking.
absolutely, yeah.
Any message? Please bring my phone. I want to check that thing that I said. The lady, the child passed. I just want to ask him. It's gonna just bother me if I don't ask. Any message to? It's off. Okay. I guess I shouldn't ask. It's off. Any message to men who lost their wives or spouses or partners and they're left with their children, or just message from a widower to a widower? Into
So,
that camera.
a colleague of mine, in fact, I wouldn't call her a colleague, a client
Yeah.
of mine, she called me, an HR exec of a big motor industry company, called me about 4 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, and say, hey, I've got a colleague, just lost a wife recently, month or whatever. Kids are quite young. I've had a chat with her, of course, as an HR exec.
Yeah.
But yes, I don't know. I thought of you. Would you mind if you could have a conversation?
Yeah.
It took a while to connect, but we connected about 2 weeks ago. And we had a chat. So here's a message. There's nothing that anyone can say to anybody. Because when you go through death, circumstances, context, and impact of it is completely different. For example, my kids were in their teenage-ish years.
Yeah.
His kids, I think one is 4, another one is 6
Toddlers.
or something, So that context alone of raising those kids from that age is far completely different from mine. All I could just have a conversation and say, hey, dude, I went through the same thing. Here's my story. And he shared his story. And we're going to appreciate the conversation. We're going to have coffee soon. So, and what we agreed and what we rather connected on is that one thing I've learned through the passing of my wife is the fact that some people say the dumbest thing to you, the most stupid things anyone could say, but from a good place.
For example?
So, for example, how are you feeling? I mean, seriously,
Obviously.
why would you ask that question when someone has lost someone they love? But they don't mean bad. They don't
Yes.
say it in a bad way. They just don't know what to say. So they find words that comes first.
Yeah.
So what we have found, now he also said the same thing, I
Yeah.
said the same thing. What I found the most amazing is people who come to see you and they're just normal. And like, hey, Bruce, how's it going? Da, da, da. And we talk like we will normally talk.
Normally
And I
talk.
laugh and whatever. I found those people more meaningful. But those who came and you can see,
Sympathetic.
I mean, I understand it. It's because you feel so bad and you don't know how to, but then you say the wrong thing. So just be yourself.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, no, it's true. But we don't take it as, how could you? Some people could, but in general, it's just
Yeah.
that you just don't know where to put your feet in. I mean, imagine if everything there was glass and you were walking barefoot. You just don't know where to put the foot. Wherever you put it, it's not going to land well.
Eish.
You know?
Yeah.
You're going to be. So I think the message is just to those who are going through it. Time does thing. That's all. It's just over time. It's just time. And then as much support that is genuine that you can get.
Yeah.
But also being mindful that people have their own lives. That everyone is going through what they're going through.
Yeah.
They can be there for a season, but it's a season. You
Yeah.
can't expect everybody to be there for life. But then you just make it through, and God will see you through. You know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and for making time. Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
for the
Anyway,
invitation.
guys, this marks the end of this episode. You know, such episode, they show me that, and it will most probably show everyone that death is something that we don't really think about. Like in my marriage, I'll think about divorce more than I'll think about my husband passing. And it can happen. How his wife died, it just happened randomly. So you'd be waiting for a big moment of you divorcing your man, and then tomorrow he dies. It's just so scary. Anyway, guys, thank you so much, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode. It's bye from me.